Kahler showed no emotion today as he heard his fate. The execution sentence comes as retribution for the shooting deaths of 4 family members.
Hey guys, my name is Steve. We're going to look at another horrible case with you, the Kahler family case. It is a terrifying portrayal of domestic tragedy, where the boundaries between sanity and savagery, love and hate, are blurred. Does a nervous disorder in 1995 justify a crime? A law had passed in Kansas that banned someone who committed and planned a crime from trying to blame their actions on a psychological disorder. That stopped them from understanding right from wrong. The law had passed and every criminal who was put on trial attempted to use emotional disability as a defense to escape responsibility for their actions, or to claim that they were not in control of their actions because they were suffering from psychopathy. The head of the Happy and Large core family attempted to use neurotic disorder as a defense to avoid interaction with psychologists that despite the horrific events he committed, his sanity and his actions were driven by rage, jealousy, and desire for revenge against his ex-wife, who left him, and his daughters, who stood by their mother. Unfortunately, crimes driven by rage and psychological desire for stats indicate that 1 in 8 crimes are motivated by revenge, which is happening all around the world. High insecurity and an obsession with controlling a partner can transform someone into a true beast who will kill anyone, including his children. James Craig Kerr was born in 1963 in Weatherford, Texas. His future wife, Karen Kahler White, was born in 1965 in the same city. They met as students at a Texas university in the early 1980s. Craig was an engineering graduate, and Karen was a first-year humanities student. They established a bond and started a romantic relationship. They were young in love. The relationship appeared ideal. In the late 1980s, Craig was a standout student at engineering school, and after graduating, he married modestly in front of close friends and family. Their first child, Emily, was born in 1991, and their second daughter, Lauren, was born in 1993. The couple lived in a comfortable Weatherford home and were considered wealthy by society standards. In 1999, when Karen was expecting their third child, Craig got a great job opportunity at a reputable Weatherford utility company. He was promoted when their son Sean was born. They loved him and even earned more money. Karen stayed at home while Craig took on the role of breadwinner of the family. The family seemed ideal. With the daughters Emily and Lauren, they lived in a large home in the most privileged area of the city and had a reliable family car. Both the daughters were talented in sports and music, taking parts in vocal contests and regional activities. Emily was a standout student and attended a well-known pharmacy college, while Lauren was a superb student whose dream was to pursue her career in music, to become a musician, of course. Sean was the youngest brother of Emily and Lauren. He was outgoing, kind, and a boy with a curiosity and interest in new topics, and he wanted to become an archaeologist. He shared a close bond with his parents and sister. Craig took care of the family, whereas Karen furnished the house comfortably, brought up the kids, and made delicious baked dishes. They participated in community activities to make their neighborhood better. They brought up 3 amazing kids, but behind the outer layer of perfection, there were lots of issues that family members covered up. In 2007, Karen acknowledged her younger sister Linda was about on a nervous collapse. She complained that Craig had been controlling and observing her for a very long time. This dominance was only increasing. Craig insisted on a complete accounting for all expenses, not only significant purchases but regular home expenditures in addition. Karen gave him bank transactions receipts from supermarket data and disclosed her situation every day, during which she spent the whole day. The Kahler family followed a rigid routine set by Craig when he got back from work. He wanted to return home to meet his wife and kids, go to bed, wake up, and eat during specific times, and even intimately, the couple's scheduled time together was over time. Craig's obsession with controlling had increased. He grew ever more demanding and self-centered, and Karen's activities were planned out of exact hours. Karen felt trapped, with no time for herself, only performing her responsibilities and duties. They could return to their previous lives, but Craig appeared to relish his dominance and refused to adapt. Linda was depressed by her sister's revelation. Just like everyone else thought of Craig as the ideal father, husband, and family man, which came to be a domestic oppressor. But Karen didn't want to ruin her family. Additionally, she and her kids were financially dependent on Craig, so she decided to look for work that would allow her a steady passive income. Being the mother of 3 children with excellent physical condition, she always followed the decent diet guidelines occasionally. Followed by nutrition, she tended to take care of herself, followed a good diet, and daily went jogging. She hid from her husband secretly and joined a nearby fitness facility, where she began exercising for several hours each day. This was how she released steam, diverting her attention and organizing her thoughts. She enjoyed going to the gym when Craig was at work and couldn't observe her doing activities out soon. The sports club administration observed the well-fitting and careful woman. Karen was invited to try herself as a fitness instructor. A housewife's imagination could not have imagined such an opportunity, as she would now be able to bring her favorite activity or even earn a respectable salary for it. Craig eventually discovered that his wife planned to visit the gym. Karen expected a scandal and her husband wouldn't allow her to leave. But surprisingly, he responded casually and even appeared happy that his wife had found a work and now was making money on her own. The only requirement was that she must be at home when he got home and prepared meals instead of interfering with his future intimate life. Karen thought these circumstances were reasonable because she was now free to action as well as the capacity to provide her requirements without any justification for every dollar she spent to her husband. An unexpected love and romance triangle was discovered when a new teacher arrived at the fitness club named Sunny. Sunny and Karen quickly hit it off and became friends. Karen, who had been staying at her mother's place for many years and incapable of socializing with others outside of the family. Sunny grew to be a reliable, trusted guy. They spent time together, daily at work, occasionally going for a walk, having coffee, drinking, enjoying a heartfelt conversation. It didn't take time, and their friendship settled into something more organic. They kept their relationships and feelings hidden from everyone. But Karen ultimately chose that she needed to come clean with her spouse, for which she prepared for months for this confession. She didn't find the right way on how to get it started and what will be the possible future impact. She eventually confessed to Craig. Despite Craig's confusion over his spouse's revelation, he responded rather calmly without making a scene. But the following day, Craig said that he agreed to his wife's relationship with Sunny, but on the condition that he could join them. Karen was surprised by her husband's suggestion and didn't know how to respond to it. However, Craig took the lead and started seeing Sunny by sending her flowers and a tiny presents that he appeared to use as a chance to make his personal life bright and happy. Initially, the woman accepted his proposal, but quickly discovered it was the case of Craig's dominant game, the way Craig, Karen, and the other person felt attracted to each other in a complicated way. Didn't last very long. Craig realized he wasn't part of the relationship anymore, and it hurt him. He made it clear to Karen that he didn't want her to continue seeing the other person instantly, but she kept going on dates. Sunny is truly in love after almost 2 years. After many years of being married, Karen decided that she wanted to separate from her husband and move to a different state. The decision came several months after a disagreement and feeling unhappy, and she planned to find a new place to live where she could start fresh. Craig determined that most of his family's recovery would require going to a different state, so he started looking for a new position, circulating rumors, and shortly acquired a job as a water director for a large business in Columbia, Missouri. A Kansas neighboring city, Craig thought that his spouse's stateside relocation would put an end to her romance with Sunny and that their family routine would resume. Summer 2008 saw the relocation, which proved challenging for the family because the kids were requiring to switch schools, make new friends, and get used to living in a new city, even though the family had a good income already. Craig's new job and pay scale were almost twice as much as he was paid. Craig's new job gave him more responsibility and took up more time, which meant he couldn't keep his promise to avoid Sunny anymore. Unfortunately, he had foolishly made this promise to his wife, believing that it would solve their problems. However, he was mistaken. Sunny and Karen kept up regular communication, chatting over the phone, texting, and meeting. They would drive halfway through and meet and spend a few hours in a roadside hotel before returning way back home. By then, Karen realized that her marriage was cursed. She stopped loving her husband and divorce was just a matter of time until December 2008. On that New Year's Eve of that year, the Kahler went back to their hometown to see loved ones and families. Sonny was present at the gathering. Karen and Sonny had a modest beginning greetings exchanged, but as the party progressed and came into play, they appeared to forget about social customs under the influence of alcohol. The couple was attached, holding hands and looking at each other longingly, and some visitors even saw them sharing a kiss. Craig wasn't just angry but furious too. He had been humiliated and insulted by Karen in front of numerous previous housemates, friends, and colleagues. Forming her connection public, Craig made a scene at the gathering, verbally abusing Sonny and his wife. Craig dragged Karen forcefully from the celebration. He lost his temper and roughly grabbed her shoulders. This caused her dress to rip, then hit her, making her stumble and fall, hitting her head. The incident led to a painful and a difficult divorce, and harassment continued even after they returned home. The conflict persisted, and after a few days, Karen told Craig that she was leaving him and his home. At first, Craig attempted to assist her in starting the divorce process and demanding custody of the children. "I'm sorry, and I beg to keep you in the family for the benefit of the kids and provide forgiveness for their union another go." But Karen was confident, and she got a separation. Craig then started phoning and asking through mutual friends and family should speak with Karen and persuade her not to separate from the family and remain with him. Even though he tried his hardest, she told him she was heading to Sonny, and she was never really satisfied with their marriage in the early 2009 spring. As long as they continued to reside under the same roof, there was another argument, and Craig used physical violence for the first time on the occasion of New Year's Eve. Karen's party reported him to the authorities, and he was taken into custody at the station, where he claimed his wife was insane, and all he did was hold her close to soothe her, which resulted in bruises from her incident on her arms. Karen did not wait for an official divorce and took her children and moved out. Craig suffered a severe blow, but he became even angrier upon discovering that his daughters had taken their mother's side. In a long time, it was the first time said that he perceived her happiness at the time, as he wasn't allowed to speak with Lauren and Emily. He only made calls to Sean and bringing him along on the weekends while disregarding his daughters outright. Even with the ongoing divorce procedures, Craig continued to hope that his wife would change her mind and decide to come back home. He tried to control him out of jealousy and trailer her around wherever he observed, as her house followed her about a town in a rental car, to remain attempting to stay unnoticed, and even unattempted to arrange a hidden camera where no one was home. All of this took time and effort, so Craig was forced to sacrifice his job and go on a vacation, and stated that he was ill. In the end, he simply began to miss work without justification. This careless conduct resulted in his rejection, following his employment loss and source of income. Craig had no choice but to move with his parents, since he couldn't afford one now, that there were plenty. In his leisure time, he managed to follow his wife throughout the day, causing her to take his ex-husband to court to prevent her from awful act. Thanksgiving in November 2009 was just before Karen took her children to see the 89-year-old Dorothy White, the grandmother, on 29 November in the town of Berlin, Kansas, to spend the holiday vacation. The Burlingame Police Department on November 29 got an alarm call regarding the sound of gunfire and the suspicious van. Dorothy neighbors claimed that they have witnessed a little truck approach an elderly woman's home. A man got out of it and entered the home, after which they heard gunfire and screams, but were not sure that the man departed the house after that, climbed back into the truck and left quickly. The neighbors did not attempt to arrest him out of concern that he was armed. When the police arrived to the residence, they were confronted by a frightened 10-year-old boy requesting assistance. Sean Kahler was the one who was unable to clarify what had occurred, but it was obvious that this was a scary scene. They waited for the police. Near the front door, they saw the homeowner, an 89-year-old, lying in a bloody puddle and unexpectedly alive, despite 2 injuries from gunshot. The body was found dead in the kitchen. Police found 44-year-old Karen, who had been shot in the chest, after which she was killed by a sniper shot at a close range to the head. Her ex-husband had abandoned her without any possibility of surviving. The survival body of her elder 18-year-old daughter Emily was lying in between a wall and a couch that she seemed to own, trying to escape her outraged father. However, he found her and took her 2 blank shots in her life. younger sister Lauren, in the puddle of blood in a bedroom on the second floor. She was still breathing, begging for life, and saying repeatedly that her father had done it. Lauren and the old lady were hurried over to intensive care unit of a hospital close by. Even when the doctor's greatest attempts, their life could not be preserved. And Lauren passed away early in the morning of December the 1st due to significant blood loss and harm to her internal organs. After a few hours, her great-grandmother passed away. That day, the sole survivor is seen. Sean was stunned at the situation. He collaborated with psychologists, but he required comprehensive questioning as the sole survivor to witness the terrible incident that took place at the home of his great-grandmother. He said that evening, his mother was in the kitchen preparing dinner, and he asked to borrow his favorite pies from her. Suddenly, the house back door opened, allowing their father to enter the house while holding a shotgun. The man pointed the gun at his ex-wife without saying anything, then shot her, then moved closer and fired once more. For a few moments, Sean became frozen. His father turned and faced him, but he didn't aim, just silently and carefully stood looking at him. Sean understood that he needed to escape, so he leaped out of the open back door in a panic. The boy ran for the main door, wishing to notify his grandmother and sister to ask for assistance. But as he arrived at the threshold, he heard more gunfire, making people afraid to enter the house. He managed to escape to a small outbuilding after hearing a few more shots and stood there in terror, for his dad to follow. Where is Miss Kahler? Craig was added right away to his armed status indicated on the wanted list as a very dangerous man in the meanwhile. Police got in multiple reports of someone's speeding truck that promptly assisted them to verify the direction. The shooter was traveling. The man once left his car in the forest and started strolling along an abandoned road. The authorities caught him quickly and delivered him in the next morning. He had abandoned the firearm and its ammunition in the prescription medicine in the backseat for an anxiety and depressive disorder, curled up close at the driver's seat. Mr. Kahler did not struggle to avoid being arrested, appeared to care less now. He seemed confused and even scared, and honestly accepted carrying a gun with him, as well as a hunting knife, but did not plan to utilize them. He further acknowledged that he's done something awful that he thought was known about by the police when they took him into the police station. Craig owns up to his guilt, that he gave the entire thing to the investigator, and he describes how his wife had an affair with Sonny and how she cheated on him. They had made him look bad in front of his former colleagues, family, and friends. During a New Year's Eve celebration, his friends made efforts to preserve their marriage that had cost him both his job and his only remaining aspect with his self-respect. He cried, said he was not sure why he had chosen to decide such a step, and complained about the fact that everybody, even his daughter, had deceived him. Craig was put on a trial in December 2010, so the defendant, receiving advice from Thomas Heaney, his lawyer, retracted his first admission, which blamed his deeds regarding neurosis and insanity. It was his only means of preventing the death punishment for killing 4 people. Heaney attempted to persuade the judge that his client was facing a challenged psycho-emotional condition, following his spouse siding with his children and leaving him for a lover. He lost his job because of their mother and was compelled to return to his parents' home. Each of these situations played a part in the client's breakdown, as well as Miss Kahler was insane when he committed the crime, not understanding what he was doing before. In 1995, a law was passed that permitted criminals can plead their way to leniency in the case of insanity. Through in Kansas, where the crime was done, the case was held location where the law was repealed. Moreover, the court did not discover any EV proof of insanity or actual state. Craig's behavior was merely pretty cold. From his computation, he bought weapons and Dorothy received the ammunition beforehand. White's house, aware of his whole family, was present when he shot each victim multiple times, eliminating any possibility of survival, but he purposefully expelled his son. In August 2011, Sean permitted him to escape, the man's conviction for all counts and given death sentence. Sean was only 12 years old when he provided testimony. During the last hearing, he mentioned that he didn't want his dad gone because he was just a close relative left beside old Craig's repeated places and his lawyers. The decision stood. As of right now, Mr. Kahler remains in prison and keeps trying to get the sentence of death and the case examined reversed. As for Sean, following his passing, among his sisters and mother, he was formally placed under his grandmother, and he is currently an adult who has completed his education and has made the decision to remain work from his home in his condition. Thanks for watching, everyone.
If you're interested in seeing more shocking stories like this one, be sure to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated with more intense cases.